We're talking cheesy, creamy, melty, and delectable lasagna. This is Lasagna 101.
No, the best lasagna. Che cazzo dici? Ma vaffanculo, va, I'm getting angry now. Cook the soffritto, you add the meat, then you put the wine, and then when the wine evaporates, you put the tomato sauce. That's how easy and simple it is. Why do you have to change it?
My sauce looks really good, but I am going to adjust the consistency a little with some water. I'm using dry pasta for this.
You work so hard to make such a thick sauce. That was cooked for an hour and a half, and now you're adding water, just like that. This is so wrong. This is so wrong. I'm looking forward to this. Let's watch the best lasagna you will ever make, restaurant quality, made by Frank, the chef of Epicurios. Because I believe I'm going to enjoy this, I'm having a chinotto and some twisties, like if I'm watching a movie.
I'm Frank Proto, professional chef and culinary instructor, and today I'm going to show you how to make lasagna Frank style. I have my pot on the stove. I have been getting it hot. I'm going to add some oil. I'm going to get my pork, and I'm going to season it up. I'm using a pork country style rib. It's got a really good fat to meat ratio. I feel that pork and tomatoes really kind of blend well together, and it gives your sauce this really nice mellow taste. So
basically, when you make a lasagna, you want to make a kind of bolognese, okay? Well, in Bologna, they actually use the bolognese ragu in the lasagna. Around Italy, the lasagna is made in different ways, in different ragu. It doesn't have to be the bolognese ragu. But the pork is always there because the pork is tender and it gives beautiful flavors.
Oh, spread them out in an even layer so it starts to get brown. That is the brown that we want. So while that's browning, I'm gonna come over and get my sausage ready. I got sausage in the casing. I chose spicy Italian sausage because I want a little heat in my sauce. I love the flavor that the chili flakes give.
I know you have two porks already. Where is the veal? Where is the beef?
The pork looks like it's done. I'm gonna take it out and put it into a bowl, but I'm gonna use a slotted spoon because I wanna leave the fat in the pot. This is, again, part of our flavor base and foundation. I'm gonna leave the fat in the pot, and then I'm gonna take my sausage, and I'm gonna get that into the pot. I don't want large chunks in there, so I'm gonna break it up and start browning this off.
Yeah, I understand what he's doing. I mean, he's adding rich pork flavors to this pork lasagna.
Sausage is ready to go. Even if it's not fully cooked now, I'm not too worried because it's gonna be in the sauce for a long time.
That's a very good point. When you cook the mince for lasagna, you don't want to cook it too much. You don't have to brown it like they did before. Okay, nothing wrong, but you basically want to make it a little bit gray. You just want to cook it. And then it's finished to cook in the sauce. You want that to be extremely moist and tender. There is no need, okay, to caramelize, to brown the meat the way you did, because it's not a steak. That's something I have to make clear. Always start with a soffritto, and then you add the meat in the soffritto and the wine. The meat does not need to be caramelized, browned, whatever you want to call it. It's not a steak, you understand? It needs to be a little bit gray, a little bit cooked. When you add the tomato sauce, that's when you really cook the meat. And the ingredients make love together.
I'm just gonna turn this pot on really low right now, and I'm gonna get that same slotted spoon and take the sausage out and just put it right on top of my browned pork ribs.
I see all American chefs doing this. It's an extra step that you're doing. I know you're treating the meat very well, which is nice. Cooking separately, but there is no need. It's a sauce that you cook for a long time, and the meat will cook for sure, okay? 100%. Now, that pork just needs to be cooked a little bit on both sides, but let me tell you, if you use the pork mince, would have been better. Now, I hope this pork will kind of shred in the sauce, which I believe it will, but to make a lasagna, it is best to use the mince because it breaks evenly and goes everywhere. But I just want to see what's going to happen here.
Now's the time where we start to get our vegetables going. Onions go in. Whenever I put onions in the pot, I always add a little bit of salt. Part of that layering of flavor is seasoning throughout the process. If we add a little salt as we go, we get a nice balanced seasoning to our finished sauce.
All right, guys, let's talk about this because I see all these American chefs putting salt to the soffritto. The salt goes in the sauce, a little bit on the meat. You don't put salt in the soffritto. It doesn't caramelize it. It doesn't do anything like that. I don't understand what you guys believe. I've eaten lasagna in Italy, at home, in restaurants, and they never use the technique of putting salt in the soffritto. Never. There was never the need for it. And I've eaten the best lasagnas on the planet when I was in Italy, okay? There is never the need to put salt in the soffritto. Never. Guys, I've tried it and there is no need. You're just adding extra salt to your dish that you don't need.
I'm gonna take a second and listen to what's going on in my pot. Yes, I said listen.
That's a lot of onion. I'm so sorry. The soffritto is cooked together. Do you have an onion soup? What's going on here?
Brother, what's that?
Now's the time to add some of the more aromatic vegetables. We're gonna add the carrots and we're gonna add the celery. I have about
So now you cook the onions and now you're adding the celery and carrots. Now I don't understand. They all cook together and it takes between 7 to 10 minutes to cook in extra virgin olive oil without salt.
the celery and carrots are getting nice and soft, and the garlic goes in last in this process because garlic burns really quickly.
That's correct. We don't need garlic in lasagna, but okay, you choose it, okay. And you did the right thing to put garlic right now.
The garlic is nice and toasty, and the next thing we're gonna add is dry white wine.
You put the white wine with the meat. Guys, the white wine goes with the meat. The meat is what needs the white wine, not the soffritto. The soffritto doesn't need white wine. The meat needs the wine. The meat needs to swim in wine, and then the wine evaporates. The soffritto doesn't need wine. The soffritto doesn't need alcohol. The meat is the alcoholic.
While my wine is cooking down, I'm gonna make a bouquet garni. Sounds fancy, but basically it's just a bundle of herbs that we tie with some butcher twine. I have basil, I fold the basil into itself a little, and then I twist around.
I've never seen these done to the basil. Basil is one of the most delicate herbs. You don't want to do that. You don't want to treat basil like that. You don't want to destroy the basil like that. First, it's easy to remove the basil, but adding the basil now, it doesn't do anything, okay? It does a little bit, yes, but it dies pretty much, okay? It doesn't really add much. Something like rosemary or sage or whatever, it can be cooked from now with the meat, I would say. But adding the basil now, you're just gonna kill it. And you don't do that to the basil. You understand? I'm trying to enjoy my twists here. Come on.
We bundle it together so it's easy to remove. It adds flavor to our sauce, but then we can take it out really easily. Throw that in right now.
So, the basil is adding flavors to the wine. Normally the basil needs to add flavors to the sauce. The sauce is not there. Do you understand the logic, guys? Do you understand what I'm talking about?
The wine's been happily bubbling away. If I take a whiff, the alcohol is cooked off and it's time to...
We don't want that. The alcohol, the meat needs the alcohol.
I'm gonna add the tomatoes, and I chose a ground peeled...
It's putting tomatoes before the meat. Do you understand? The meat goes first with the soffritto. Cook the soffritto, you add the meat, then you put the wine, and then when the wine evaporates, you put the tomato sauce. That's how easy and simple it is. Why do you have to change it? And where is the beef? Where is the veal? The pork is not just enough. You need the beef to balance it. Talk about balance it, the meat needs to be balanced. And you got chili in there. Kids can't have it.
All the tomatoes go in, save the cans because we're gonna rinse them out. And
Crushed tomato is good, so that you know, it's a little bit less, it's good, but it's a bit less good quality than peeled tomatoes, okay? Because they might add water or whatever in there, okay?
so what I'm gonna do now is let the tomatoes come to a simmer. I'm gonna add a nice grinding of fresh pepper, a nice pinch of salt, a little bit of chili flake, because we do have hot sausage in there, but I do want to supplement that with a little.
You understand? You guys like it, okay? You don't have any kids, okay? Everybody, but not everybody likes chili flakes. Lasagna is a dish that you share with family or friends. It's a big dish, not just for two people, okay? So avoid adding crushed chili flakes or adding spicy sausage because it's not for everyone.
You gotta be careful here because this is gonna reduce, but I do think it needs a little more salt. Just a nice pinch.
You got salt in the soffritto. You put a generous amount of salt in the tomato, and now it's adding more salt. While you could wait, you can add the salt at the end, and then say, okay, it needs more salt, just towards the end. Just cook it. And where is the meat? Where is the meat?
The sauce is bubbling away. I'm gonna lower my heat from high to medium, and I'm gonna add all the meat back with all of the juices. Give it a stir. You could probably go a little lower on the heat to kind of medium low. Let it cook low and slow for about an hour and a half until everything comes together, the pork gets tender, and then we can make our lasagna. My sauce has been on for about an hour and a half. If you look at it, it's got a really nice deep red color, a little sheen of oil on top.
It looks beautiful. If I look at it, it looks very nice, okay? It does look beautiful. It looks like a beautiful sauce. That basil is useless. But if you follow the instruction I'm giving you, which are not mine, they are part of Italian cuisines for a long time, I can guarantee you that you don't go wrong. But you do whatever you want, okay? I'm not here to fight and say, oh, I'm just here to teach you. If you don't want to take it, you can just switch off the video now.
So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna remove that bouquet garni. It's done its work. It's given its flavor up.
Ma che bouquet garni? It's basil that you killed.
And we're also gonna remove our pork so that we can kind of just chop it up and shred it.
Capito. How many steps are you doing? I mean, how complicated it is, huh? If the meat was cooked for like 4 hours in there, it would have been would have been like shredded by itself, okay? You use the wrong meat for lasagna. You don't use a meat like that.
So go through the sauce. When you cut into that lasagna, you want to get the perfect bite every time. And
that's correct. Balance.
The pork has been cooking long enough in the sauce that we really don't need to do much to shred it. It falls apart really nice. And this goes...
Well, you should have done that. That should have happened automatically, or you just press with a masher or something, I don't know.
I'm gonna take this basil and shred it up and add it to the sauce. A lot of times when you're cooking things like this for a long time,
you don't need the basil in there, okay? I don't know what you're saying. I like that you break the basil like that with your hands.
My sauce looks really good, but I am going to adjust the consistency a little with some water. I'm using dry pasta for this.
No, aspetta, no. You work so hard to make you work so hard to make such a thick sauce that was cooked for an hour and a half, and now you're adding water just like that. This is so wrong. This is so wrong. How can you call this the best lasagna? The reason why you cook the sauce for so long is to get a beautiful thickness. The flavors make love together. And now you're adding water? I can't believe it. I can't believe you put water in there. I can't believe you put water in there.
The first step to layering our lasagna is you want to put a nice bit of sauce on the bottom. Lasagna already takes a lot of time and effort. I like to use dry pasta.
Look how much water there is in there. Look how much water there are in there. Look at you made a beautiful sauce, let's say, even though the steps are a bit strange, but look.
When I'm layering my lasagna, I like to put sauce on the pasta itself, right? So it's gonna be sauce, pasta, sauce, and then the cheese. We're gonna add some of our grated cheese. I have pecorino and Parmesan. I like the sharpness of pecorino. I like the nuttiness of Parmesan. I'm going to add some shredded mozzarella. I'm using a low moisture mozzarella. Fresh mozzarella has a lot of liquid. I don't want extra liquid in there.
It makes a good point, yes.
And then some ricotta. And with the ricotta, I dab it on, right? This will spread out and melt a little, but
Okay, ricotta is something used in the south. I know in Naples they use it in lasagna. I know in Sicily they use it. Listen, if you want to do ricotta, don't do that. What he's doing is a bit silly, sorry. You get the ricotta, okay? And you get some water, hot water, just from the boiled water. You put a little water in the ricotta in a bowl, and then you whip it, like you want whip the ricotta. And then you spread it like if it's bechamel. That's how you spread it in the lasagna. But doing this, come on, not a pizza.
So we're just building those layers of flavor. And when I use all these cheeses, it gives me that nice balance between creamy and acidic. And then
Never had this.
Another layer of pasta. I am going to push down just a little, right? I want this to be a little compact. I don't want it to be like light and fluffy. I want it to be nice and dense. So if the pasta...
If that's what you want, don't have the gaps. You don't want gaps in between, okay? And don't use this lasagna. So those lasagna noodles don't look great to call this the best lasagna, sorry.
And for our last layer, I'm just gonna add the grated cheeses. I don't want the ricotta on top there because ricotta tends to dry out and it's gonna get crumbly. I leave the ricotta insides where it's gonna stay nice and moist and not on the top.
Now what's happening on the top is it's gonna cover this with foil. That cheese will actually kind of melt and it will get stuck to the foil. What I suggest, and I always did this when I had my food business, and many people in Australia enjoyed my lasagna, okay? What I will do, I will make the lasagna, all the layers, and then when I get to the top layer, on top of the top, I will just use a plain basil sauce. plain basil sauce. Just put it and cook, cover it without foil and cook it. Then what I do, 10 minutes before it's ready, I take it out, remove our foil, and just put pecorino on top. You can put mozzarella if you want. I don't put mozzarella on top of my lasagna. Just put pecorino cheese or parmigiano back in the oven until the cheese melts. You don't need a mountain of cheese like that because it's not a pizza. But if that's what you want, that's fine.
Before I put it in the oven, I'm gonna put it onto a sheet tray or a cookie sheet. You can see that our sauce is kind of like...
Yeah, because it's gonna be a show in the oven with all this cheese.
The lasagna's been in the oven for 30 minutes. We're gonna remove the foil to allow our lasagna to crisp up and the cheese to melt really nice. You'll notice that a lot of the juice has leaked out onto the tray.
That's not juice, that's a lot of water, my friend. That's a lot of water.
Foil on top has allowed my pasta to soak up that liquid and my cheese to steam a little and get melty. It's going back into the oven for about 30 minutes, and that's gonna get nice and crispy and brown.
No, you're doing that so you get rid of the water and dry this up. But the oven, you wanna put the lasagna in the oven for an hour? That's crazy. What do you think of that lasagna, guys? What do you think of that? It looks like a pizza to me. It looks good, if I have to say. I will eat it, but yeah.
My lasagna has rested for 30 minutes. Get under there. Oh my goodness.
It looks beautiful. If you look at it, it looks nice. I'm not sure about that pasta, to be honest. But if you look at it, yeah, it looks good.
That is just a slice of happiness. We took our time to layer our sauce on top and on bottom of the pasta. And if you look at it, all that time has paid off. We have a beautiful layered lasagna with a little bit of everything in each bite.
It does look beautiful. It's just that the steps were done wrong. The biggest mistake for me was the choice of meat. You need some beef or veal together, and you need minced meat. The other mistake I believe you did is to add the wine to the sofrito. Is to have too many steps, to cook the onion on its own, to put the basil at the beginning with the wine, to add water at the end of the sauce. That was crazy. I didn't like it, I'm sorry. It's a good lasagna, it looks fantastic. No, for me it didn't pass the test, I'm sorry. It can't be called the best lasagna ever made. If you want a good lasagna, go and search for my lasagna recipe. I can make another one for you and I can call it the best lasagna you will ever make. And then we can talk about it. But this is not restaurant quality. Especially with the water you added at the end, after you worked so hard to make a thick sauce, you had water. That showed me that it's not restaurant quality. That's bad quality. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed. I didn't. It ruined my appetite. So I will see you in the next Vincenzo's plate reaction video. E ora si mangia. Tristezza.